There are three things I have learned in my almost 15 years of marriage about faithfulness and infidelity. One is that being and staying faithful to your spouse is a personal decision. You can't make it for him, and he certainly can't make it for you. No matter the tactics you may employ to keep your spouse in check, snooping through his phone, monitoring his every movement, tracking her car, cloning her phone, confining her to the house, and cutting her off from friends or social life won't solve the problem. The reason is that faithfulness and sexual purity are matters of the heart. You can't force or impose it on anyone. It must be a heartfelt resolution. The second thing I learned about faithfulness and infidelity is that in the midst of intense pressure and crazy temptations in a world that is highly sexualized, we need divine help to stay faithful to our spouse. Sexual purity is not something we can do in our strength. We need to engage the Holy Spirit to help us to do what our natural human strength can't do. If God would instruct us in 1 Thessalonians 4 verse 3 to stay away from all sexual sin, and that includes adultery, that means He must have equipped us with all we need to do so. So it is foolishness to think that we can do it on our own. The Holy Spirit is our go-to person when it comes to living a life of holiness and purity. But we need to make a personal decision for sexual purity beforehand and put up the necessary boundaries in order to make good our decision. Dr. David Jeremiah said, the reason why many of us fail in battle is because we wait for the crisis before we get spiritually involved. The place to decide what we believe about premarital sex or extramarital affair is not at the steamy backseat of a car. Decide what you believe about the important things in life before the crisis comes. The third thing I learned about faithfulness and infidelity in marriage is that the faithfulness of your spouse does not have everything to do with your personal efforts. How good you are in bed, how good you cook, how beautiful or sexy you look, the respect, the attention you give to your spouse, or how much money, vacations, or good life you spoil them with. These are great things to do and very necessary because to a large extent, they contribute to strengthening our marriages. But the mistake we would make is when we remove the God factor from our marriage equation and solely depend on our personal efforts to sustain the sacredness of our marriage. There are so many stories of people who have done all the right things by their spouse, only to be shocked when they find out that their spouse had been unfaithful to them. It simply tells you that our personal efforts are never enough. So what do you do? What do we do? Do your part, of course, but get God involved to do what only He can do. Stop trusting in yourself, your efforts, your ability, looks, or expertise. Trust in God instead concerning your spouse and your marriage. If you know how deeply spiritual and important marriage is, you would realize that the devil will do everything to bring it down. He will do everything it takes to disrupt the unity between you and your spouse. That's why you can't fight these battles alone. You can't navigate the marriage institution without the wisdom and the grace of the one who instituted it in the first place. So pray for your spouse constantly and bear in mind that in your marriage, you have your role to play and God has His role to play. Stop putting yourself under emotional and mental pressure because you are trying to do your marriage on your own. Jesus said in John 15 verse 5, "For apart from me, you can do nothing." If a couple will individually and mutually as one decide to stay faithful to themselves, Genesis 11 verse 6 says, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them because they speak the same language. Thanks for watching. If you were blessed by this content, please do not fail to share. And if you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and click the subscription button so that you will be the first to be in the know once I share any new video. Now, till I come your way next time with another interesting episode, my name remains Michelle. God bless you. Bye.